Welcome to Changing Suits. We're your hosts, Val
and Taj, discussing the latest news, views, and general life for us Western Asians.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Hi, welcome to Changing Suits. My name's Val.
And my name's Taj.
Today, we are going to be discussing body shaming.
Right, I'm going to say this is a very big topic and one that I personally have experienced. But you may say I've experienced a lot of things that we've discussed. And that's why we're doing this podcast, because I have. So why not start right from when...
you were younger?
Yeah, younger.
That's usually
all those many years ago. Yes, I was young once in my life.
Oh my God. All right, stop with that. Go carry on.
So basically, as a teenager, I had really bad acne. And it did affect my self-confidence. And I would say that's where my journey of body shaming started from. So...
But then prior to that, you say that. But prior to that, you were very body proud.
I was very vain. I remember actually a pinnacle point in my life, and it's changed completely. This is how vain I was. I used to look in the mirror every day.
Well, most of us look in the mirror at least once.
No, as in like sit there admiring myself. I remember my mum said to me, and I remember this, and it still resonates, and it's touch deep, and it is true. She goes, "Stop doing that. You don't know when things can change." She didn't mean that in a horrible way. She just meant stop being vain. And now I'm in a position where I just about walk past a mirror because I don't have that confidence in spending time looking at the mirror, which is sad, but I'm sure many of the listeners or some listeners may understand that as well, where you just look at the mirror quickly just to do your hair and that's it. You don't look in the mirror at all after that. But that's because I've been through so much, like all parts of my body.
But then it does come down to, with you, it was down to health. So we know that a lot of it came down to the fact that you did spend a long time where you had medical problems, and that's what caused these issues. So, you went through phases, forget the fact that you had the acne, but you went through phases where you were very skinny or where you got very, very fat. I didn't mean to say it like that. Very, very fat. Sorry, I didn't mean that. But then coming down, and it was a big yo-yo. And that's even before having kids. Because we know how much of an impact that has once you do have kids.
Yeah,
but do you want to just talk about that side of it? Because we've all been impacted by this, and I'll share a few bits about my own story, but yours is an interesting story. So go for it. Take stage.
Well, yeah, again, this is, I think we touched on this in another podcast about when, before I was ill, I was very light skin. And then when I got ill, my skin turned really dark. And I did get comments from people when it did turn dark. I went through a phase of, like you said, very skinny, the ideal weight, as in what the world would tell you, to very fat, to the point of people didn't recognize me. And if you look back at photos, you would be like, oh my God, you're like a chameleon.
But the thing is, at the time, it's crazy. And this happens with anyone. I mean, even if you look back at photos of kids and things like that, you're like, oh my God, when did they look like that? And, they gained a lot of weight or they didn't have enough weight and that sort of stuff. And that's one thing with your photos. We look back at them, it's like, I don't remember you being that big, or it's really strange because at the time you're just living, you were fine, you were normal.
Yeah, but that's because you used to
relatively normal.
Yeah. But
as normal as you get.
That's because you were there day to day, seeing how things. So it wouldn't have really been a big impact, change for you, to be honest, because you were seeing the whole process day to day. When you see someone, you just carry on with life because it's day to day. But it did impact me in a big way because I was surrounded by people that were skinny. you were skinny, my older sister was skinny. Our family is skinny, and then we've got this fat person in the family, the oddball, and quite a lot of
Literally. I'm joking. I'm only joking. That's fine.
and the same thing happened with friends as well. I had very good looking friends and good looking family, skinny, all around me sort of thing. So at times I did have a little sulk, but I had to kind of just get on with it because it's like every and to be honest, it was like, okay, this is what it is kind of thing for me. But for many listeners, it may have been more deep than that. And it can affect, again, we're going back to this, your mental health. And like it has for me, I don't like looking in the mirror. And that obviously has affected my mental health.
But then at the time, obviously you were going through a lot. It wasn't just about your body shape or how you looked. You were going through other very serious medical problems. Something that obviously we'll probably delve into in a few podcasts later. But was that, although you were going through other more serious things, forget about the fact that you're going fat, thin, this, that, whatever. At that point, I don't know if you remember, but did that have a big impact, or were you thinking more about that or about your medical problem?
Well, when I was well, I was thinking about being fat and stuff like that because I used to go shopping with, and this isn't their fault, it's got nothing to do with them, but one of my friends and one of my sisters, and they used to try on all these different clothes because both of them were petite, and I had to go for larger clothes to the point of I didn't want to change. I didn't even want to try on clothes because it affected me that much, because I would go for a bigger size than them, and it'd be like, oh God, I thought I could get into this size, but I needed a bigger size than that. So to me, I just hated going shopping with them, and it did affect me in that sense as well, because here I was going out shopping with these really pretty girls, very slim girls, and not it was nothing, it's nothing to do with them, it's not their fault they were pretty and skinny or whatever. But for me personally, I was like, again, the oddball. So it did affect me, the shopping trips that we went to. And we used to go shopping pretty much every day after we went to uni, and I used to dread going.
But then,
But it
did you
was,
ever actually vocalize
no, I didn't
those
ever
feelings?
voice it
But then
because I
why?
didn't
Because
want
this
it.
is this is
Go
the
on.
problem I have with you. Let's make it quite clear on this podcast. The problem is you don't vocalize any of this stuff. So it's like, oh no, it's fine. But it's not really fine. And this is the issue that we're trying to get down to by doing this podcast.
Because I don't want the person to feel guilty that I'm feeling this, and I don't want the person to feel sympathy for me, because I don't need sympathy. That's why I didn't ever vocalize it, because I don't need someone to say, "Oh no, 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 it's not like that,"
But
because
isn't
I
that the
know it is like that.
but isn't that the issue with every issue that we've been talking about? The fact that we don't, as a community, vocalize it because you don't want sympathy or you don't want the other person to know what you're feeling. Isn't that the point of this podcast?
Very true.
So,
But I don't want, but then I can understand, because I don't want other people to say sympathize, and I don't want sympathy,
but the
because
thing is,
the
look,
reality is,
but the problem is, and this is the issue I have when you do that, right? We don't know how you're feeling, so we can't help. And you're going to say, I don't need help. But no one wants anyone to feel crappy. So they're your friends, they're your family because they care about you. You don't want someone that you care about to feel rubbish. But for them to realize that, you'd have to say it.
they enjoyed those shopping trips. If I said to them this was the problem, then we wouldn't go to those shopping trips.
So what? If you were upset, that's a
Yeah,
small
but
thing,
I
right?
wanted them to enjoy themselves.
But then you weren't enjoying it.
Yeah,
So
but
you
then sometimes you,
sacrificed your happiness for a shopping trip, which probably didn't actually mean that much to them.
it did. They had fun. They used to like changing, trying on different clothes, and then going to Body Shop and stuff like that, and trying all these different cosmetics and stuff, which I couldn't because my skin was really bad. And I couldn't try on these non-tested animal products because I was sensitive to everything. So I used to even dread going into all these shops with different makeup and stuff like that, because I was like, okay,
So why did you?
because they enjoyed it.
But you didn't.
I know, but that is what I am. I can't change that.
But isn't it that the issue with not only the Asian community, most communities where we do sacrifice our happiness for someone else? And at what point do we say, actually, you know what, this isn't right, and I don't enjoy doing this, and I shouldn't be doing it because I don't enjoy it?
Yeah. But then what would our alternative been? Go and sit in a library and do our work, which would actually, our parents would have preferred that. We would have spent less money, less student loan. But hey.
Okay. I think this is the point of most of the topics that we cover. If we don't vocalize it, if we don't make people aware of it, then how
But you
are we
can't
supposed
force
to move?
people to vocalize it as well. I think you need to be at a stage in your life where you're happy to vocalize it and when you're ready to vocalize it. You can't force someone into doing it.
So would you tell them now as much as you could?
No, because why? What was the point of telling them now? That was then and this is now. Our life has changed.
Mm.
What would I gain?
Well, awareness of the fact that that's how you felt, and potentially they didn't know it, and they could be doing the same thing again.
Yeah, but that's just going to make them feel bad. Why would I want to make them feel bad? I'm not going to gain anything out of it.
But then
It
if
is
they
what it
go and
is.
do
They
this,
were happy memories. Why ruin those memories?
but then if they were in the same position now and they didn't think anything was wrong at that point, and we're not just talking about the body shaming and going shopping, and it was an issue then, I get it, but it's other issues as well. If we don't vocalize these things, how do you know next time that it doesn't happen again and they don't realize again? Because it
Because
hasn't
I
been
think
vocalized.
we're at that maturity where I think they would realize that now.
You say that.
Because I think at a young age we think about ourselves more, and it was ha ha laugh laugh. But I don't think we thought people's mental health. I don't think it was something that we really thought about back then.
Okay, so I mean, I am going to talk a bit about my experience of this, but there's one thing I want to touch on, and we're going to bring the Asian element back in, and it sort of sticks in my mind because obviously there's three of us sisters, and things have happened, and a comment that we've had in the past from people that we know is, we've got three daughters who, when they were younger, it'd be easy to get them married off and all that sort of stuff, and then that changed.
Mm-hmm.
How did that? Because you were a focal point of that, of when you did get ill and the marriage thing came up, and a lot of the body shaming stuff comes down to the fact that in the Asian community, trying to find a partner. I don't think it is as much. I say that it is still now, to be fair. How did that impact you in that respect? Because we did have comments and people were very vocal about it as well. I remember it, and like I said, I don't remember much, but I do remember that.
I'm surprised you remember that, because you don't really remember anything, do you?
Yeah.
One thing in the Asian community is voicing your imperfections. If you do that, it's shock, horror. And we're made to think when we were younger that everyone is meant to be this perfect person. I mean, when we were younger, someone having glasses was a big deal. Oh my God, they've got glasses. Now everyone's got glasses. But at that time, it was like, oh my God, they wear glasses. I wonder, they're not going to get a partner. They're not going to get married. And to think where things have changed from now, everyone's got glasses, and that's a non-issue.
Well, I haven't, because I had the laser eye surgery, just saying. But again, I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because I hate wearing contact. I couldn't bloody see anything. Now I can see everything. It's amazing. I just didn't realize the world was how it was at that point. But
now you see it differently.
I see it differently, literally.
Better or worse?
I can see it. That's always helpful.
No comment then, I see.
But then okay, so going down to my experience, and we'll go back to the question I've asked, and you can have a little think. I'll be quite kind today. But with myself, things like the laser eye surgery, that never occurred to me, having glasses. I didn't really care. I've never really cared about, going out there. And I mean, to the point where we had a party. I'll tell you, this was actually quite funny. We had a party a few weeks ago, and it's the first party after lockdown and all that sort of stuff, and obviously dressed up. And people are, oh, we don't see you dressed up very often. And Sook turned around and he goes, that's because you look like you're homeless most of the time. And again, to be fair, it's true. I mean, our brother has said the same thing. I was wearing some shoes, actually. This was a while back, and he's like, you're wearing those shoes? I was like, yeah, what's wrong with them? They were cream shoes, and they were very dirty, but they were my favourite pair of shoes. And he's like, you look like you're homeless. I'm like, what is this with me looking like I'm homeless? But I did actually feel like that today as well. So nothing much has changed despite the comments. So I've never really been outwardly like, if I'm going to make an effort, I'll make an effort. But most of the time, you should be happy I got changed. Even during lockdown, this was one thing. Whether you'd get changed to, stay at home essentially, and the share price of which company was it? It's not coming to the top of my head.
Has this got to do with body shaming, the share price?
But it comes down to the same thing of, most people weren't wearing deodorant whilst they were staying at home and doing all this sort of stuff because no one cared. Whereas, you go out there and you dress up to feel better. And it's not necessarily always to look better for other people. It's the feeling that you have yourself of, yeah, I own this shit sort of thing. But it's one, like, even I didn't really dress up whilst I was at home, whereas like I said, you should be happy I got out my night suit.
To be honest, now we're like in this whole lockdown thing. Both me and my husband, we both wear joggers, and the ones he wears, they need throwing away. But we're at this point in our life, we just don't care. We go out there, we both look really trampy.
But isn't that a problem though? Because I've had this discussion with some of my friends, and it's a case of, well, yeah, I'm just sitting around in my gumball and my joggers, and I'm feeling pretty shitty. And I actually do want to get out there because I need to feel better about myself. And again, going back down to the mental health aspect of it, it's having an impact. And that is one of the things. For Your Inspiration is a network created to help women return to work following long-term leave, or for women who are at work but are facing challenges.
At FYI, we are working to break down barriers such as mental health, discrimination, and gaps in skills, which prevent women from returning to a career that they are happy in.
Through our peer-to-peer support groups and workshops, we aim to create an environment where women can gain confidence, share their experiences, and build strong relationships to positively benefit the individual, their employers, and their communities.
FYI, for your inspiration.
So, just in regards to the body shaming. So, my experience of it, I mean, I have been very skinny my whole life. But I always find it interesting as to how easy it is for other people to then say, oh, you're very skinny. And I know in most cases, people think that's a compliment. Well, actually, newsflash, it's not always a compliment. And this is what I've actually been quite open in talking to my friends about, where they might have said it. I'm like, well, do you know what? That's not a compliment, what you're saying. I go the opposite way. If I'm stressed, I lose a lot of weight. And I look like a skeleton walking around. And you know that. I know that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you haven't got much weight to lose anyway.
Exactly. But you can see it on my face. If I'm stressed, you will know I'm stressed because all of the fat from my cheeks will go.
Yeah.
And again, I don't have very much, but I will look like a walking skeleton. And it's not even Halloween. So again, everyone has their issues. I mean, one of the things with me is my posture. But yeah, so in regards to my posture, because I am quite skinny, I've had times where if I'm not exercising, I will, when you get that sort of curve at the top of especially if you're not making an effort to stand straight, you look like a skinny old person. And I do have that curve. And that's one thing that my husband's always said, stand straight, because I do have that. Whereas now, because I'm exercising, obviously I am standing more straight because I've got muscles that are growing in my back. So there are the negatives of both sides of it, whether you're too skinny or whether you're too fat. So it's a tough one. And in the Asian community, it's tougher because you do have, and I'm going to use your nice usual comments, that Bollywood thing. Bollywood actresses, could they get any more prettier? And today, now is a perfect time to talk about it when, we've got a Miss India that's, no, Miss India, that's one.
It's Miss Universe, wasn't
Miss
it?
Universe. I mean, she's gorgeous, and that's the whole point of the whole Miss Universe. I mean, you're never going to have Miss Ugly. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, it's in the Asian community, it is harsher, I think.
So why don't we talk about women when they're about to get married and how people think, and especially older women, it's so common for them to make comments. It's like a normalized thing that no one even thinks or batters an eyelid when they're talking. Like, for example, if you're going to look for marriage partners, you'd be like, oh no, she's fat, she's skinny. Or
They don't
even
say it
men.
they don't say it in front of people, do they? I can't remember that far back. Do they?
It's not that far back. But they will body shame, even if they don't say it in front of people. But once you get married, I think the older generation of women don't mind saying it in front of the person.
Yeah, no, it's true. That is true. I've had a few comments like that. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember there was someone that said, I was with my mother-in-law at the Godhra, and she goes, it must have been when we were newly married. I'm pretty vocal in, if I've got a sarcastic comment, I'm pretty quick at coming back. But this woman basically said, "Oh, did he know India to aaya?" So I came back. I'm like, "Well, we get a good young aaya." So basically, is your daughter-in-law from India? Like a negative. And I
Mm.
said back, I'm like, well, they're girls as well. Like, what's wrong with you? You're from India. I forget I didn't say that bit. But there is some rudeness. I agree with the older generation.
And I think that might be because no one says anything back. But I don't think you should be rude back.
It wasn't rude. I wasn't the point.
No, I'm not saying that you were rude back, but I'm just saying generally we shouldn't be rude back to the older generation because for them it's so normal to say something like that. You don't want to, I won't want to hurt their feelings, but then yet I would sit back and not say anything. And it's wrong that as well, not to say anything.
Mm.
Like I've had, obviously my weight yo-yo is like no one's business. And I don't think anyone's ever said to me, you look, apart from my own family, you look lovely.
Mm.
Not in the community that I live in. Only my family has said it to me. They've either said, "Oh, you look a bit fat. Have you put on a bit of weight? Oh, you look really skinny.
You have
You like,
comments like that.
yeah, you look really skinny. What's wrong? Aren't you feeling well?" And it's like, for God's sake, you can't win.
How do you respond back then?
I just say, "Oh no, I'm fine." I don't I must admit, I don't respond in a good way. I'm just laugh it off or like, no, I'm not ill. I'm fine, thank you.
But the thing is, it's awkward. I don't know how other people do it. It's awkward generally, I think, if anyone comments on it, like whether you look good or bad. It's just awkward.
Yeah,
Unless it's the whole joke within a family, you look homeless, ha ha ha, sort of thing. Then it is water off the duck's back. But it's awkward even if someone's nice to you. It's like, oh, you look nice. Well, I look like crap most of the time then. So it's,
I do remember a comment that one of an aunt made,
I
and
knew you were going to bring this
she,
up.
she didn't mean to make it in a horrible way. And this is from the other side. And she goes, "Oh, you look like you've lost a bit of weight." Was it this? It was this, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the person responded and said, "Are you trying to say that I was fat before?" And the aunt, she didn't mean it like that. She meant it in a nice way. So you've got to think the other side as well. Just because someone's saying something in a nice way, you shouldn't be completely defensive about it either. They might be coming from a good place as well.
Yeah.
So just flipping it around from the other side, we can see our aunt's point of view because she meant it in a genuinely nice way.
Yeah, but I remember the look on her face afterwards. It was classic. We still crack jokes about it because it was that awkward. But we like remind her of it because we want to have a laugh.
Because that's how horrible we are. But yeah, again, like I was saying, generally going back to Asian women and the older generation, and it being so normal for comments like that to be flown around, and no one's, we don't address it. But I suppose people in our generation are starting to say, actually, no, I'm not going to take that anymore. You're making me feel like crap, basically.
But this isn't something that is just within the Asian community, though, is it? I mean, I was reading some comments. Um, even today, in regards
Mm.
to, obviously you've got TV programs, and the latest one that, am I allowed to say this word? I don't know if I should say the word, but basically it's and the city that is going. I'm sure you can fill it in if you know what I'm talking about. But if any kids are listening, they should not know what this is talking about. But anyway, the comments have been quite harsh on them. They look too old. They've got grey hair. They've got wrinkles. This sort of stuff doesn't just happen in the Asian community, and it's the trolling now. Going back to social media trolling and the media, obviously, that's really quite hard hitting for the people that have to listen to it. People are never happy. One of the characters has had Botox, and they're like, "Oh no, she's had Botox." So, well, okay. And then the other one hasn't had Botox. Oh my god, she looks old. So where can you go where no comment is made then?
I think it's a case about people just want to make a comment because, like they say, being nice. Apparently, it seems like it's not done that often. And normalize. I mean, like for example, a person that would be seen as perfect is someone that's skinny and just
But not too
skinny.
skinny, otherwise they look ill.
Yeah, so not too skinny. I suppose, yeah, skinny, not too skinny. The right bum in the right place, not too big.
Where else would it be?
You know what I mean? The right size. I didn't mean the right place. The boobs the right size. So everything needs to be perfect. Is there a perfect person? I want to know.
Let's go the other way. There was an interview I was watching a few weeks back where it was a larger lady, and she was on the whole, what's the word, body proud, and she was a very large lady, and the other woman that was coming on was skinnier, and she was like, no, you should, oh yeah, I remember, it was, you should be able to dump your partner if they're too large or something like that. That was the
Wow,
thing.
sounds like a good woman.
You can see the type of programs I watch. But the point I'm trying to make is she did make a really interesting point, and I was like, actually, answer that, because that's a tough one. How healthy is it to be that large? Yes, you can be body proud, but is it healthy if you're
But
too large
but the thing
or
is,
too
it
skinny?
may yeah, but you don't know if that person's large. It might not necessarily be because they're eating too much or they're not doing enough exercise. It might just simply be that they're not well for medical reasons. They've ballooned out or they've got bigger. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. Um, but they've got bigger. It's not necessarily that they're eating loads and they're not doing exercise. So I think that's wrong for example, to put that out there and say that, hey, it's being unhealthy, because that might not necessarily be the point.
That's fair enough. Yeah, no, that's a good point actually. I didn't think of it like that. But then
Bec-
saying your body proud, especially when you're going on TV or something like that, it's obviously putting it out there of, look, if you are larger, regardless of whether you've got medical issues, it can, whether you're too skinny or too fat, cause a lot of other medical issues. So should we then we shouldn't then be promoting someone that's
but maybe she wasn't
larger
promoting
than
it.
us.
Maybe she's just saying that I'm happy where I am. You don't need to judge me.
Fair enough.
That's why I'm proud.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm happy to be a larger lady. You've got no right to put me down.
Mm,
And that's where the proudness comes. And who does have a right to put someone else down? It's up to them if they want to lose weight or don't want to lose weight, or maybe it's not even entered their mind to lose weight because they're happy with the way they look.
fair enough.
Because
Yeah.
I know that a relative that we've got, she was pretty big, and she lost so much weight, and then it didn't suit her.
Who are you
She just
talking about?
looked. Well, I'll tell you afterwards, just in case she listens. I'm not gonna.
I'm like,
don't
who do
don't want
you
to
know?
don't want to be killed by the family, do we?
The
Um,
family. Yes,
by the
sorry.
family. So yeah, and it didn't suit her being skinny. She just looked nice, and
Who? You just whispered it to me. Give me 1 second. No, I'm joking. We'll discuss it after. Yeah.
and so yeah, who are we there to judge?
The other side of it is obviously us being women who have had kids. One time well, not one time. The time that I really saw the difference was obviously after giving birth, because during my pregnancy I never had an issue of, oh, I'm too big. I'm not the kind of person, I'm like, just stuff your face, be happy with it. You know, you're pregnant, you got to feed the child those donuts and all those healthy other treats that you've been eating, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
afterwards, there was definitely an impact on my metabolism. So prior to being pregnant, I could eat what I want and I wouldn't. And I know I'm going to get the normal comment for people that see this and then know me of, oh, yeah, you've gained loads of weight. Ha 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 ha. Well, no one's amazingly happy with their body. There are going to be parts of your body where, like, actually, that's a bit larger than before. But yeah, I was finding that if I ate certain foods, my stomach would start going out. Not massively, and I get it, not in comparison to others, because I suppose that's what we're doing. That's how we're saying that no, it is okay. But it definitely had an impact on my metabolism. And now I've got a bit of a goggle.
A bit of a belly.
Yes.
But the thing
That's
is,
the translation, yes.
but the thing is, you know yourself when you feel bigger or when you feel skinnier. And it's not about making comparison to someone else, because their body shape is always going to be different to yours and their body structure is going to be different to yours. And that's the way it is. So if someone says, oh, I feel a bit fat, that's because they feel fat for their body size. Or I feel a bit skinny because for their body size they feel skinny.
But then what was the impact of pregnancy and on you?
To be honest, I didn't get that big for pregnancy, surprisingly enough. My body's like an elastic band, so I'm surprised I didn't. I mean, people didn't even notice that I was pregnant until towards the end. I was still working, I think.
Oh, I had that. Sorry, just cutting you. I had one of them. I actually remember this. I was walking down a corridor, and I was about 8 months. I was just about to have my last meeting at this point. So I was about to go on mat leave. So yeah, I'm going down this corridor, and the officer turns around to me. He goes, he called me cabinet member, respectful terms.
Cabinet member.
He goes, do you mind me asking, are you pregnant?
Was he Cockney?
Yeah, he's a top guy. Loved him. He was wicked. But he's like, do you mind me asking, are you pregnant? I'm like, I turned around, I was like, no.
Oh God.
But I was like, no, I am only kidding. That was my last meeting. I'm on mat leave. You lot are so slow. Of course, it was a room full of men that probably wouldn't have said anything, but I didn't look pregnant anyway. But it's a classic moment. And this is why you should never say to someone, are you pregnant? Because it is as awkward as hell if the person is not pregnant. Sorry, carry on your story. And I've got a story on that as well, but Karen.
No, you go on with your next story. I haven't got really anything from that. Go on.
I actually, so someone did, I was walking with a friend of mine, and I'm hoping she doesn't listen to this podcast. She'll be like, oh my God, she's talking about me. But someone did turn around to her and say, oh, congratulations. And she's like, oh, why? And then obviously when you get that congratulations, it's like, oh God, I know what's coming.
Oh God, no.
And she's like, no, I'm not pregnant. I'm like, oh my
no.
God. And it was an auntie that said it, and she meant it in a nice way. And you've got to remind the person that she meant it in a nice way. She was fine about it, but it
does hit your ego. Yeah.
It is crazy.
But yeah, again, women seem to think that it's okay to judge someone's bump. Even you're big, you're too small, or you're too big, you're too small.
Do people do that?
They do. Oh, sorry, I forgot you live in this land of hermit.
Hermit? Whoa. Go on. What was the experience you had? Tell me your problem.
No, I'm just saying it generally happens. I didn't have a problem because I'm perfect.
Fair enough.
I say that after I tell you all my woes. But yeah, like generally women that have been pregnant, like, have experienced that where they're like, oh, your bump is too small, your bump is too big. And you're like, for God's sake, let me live. I mean, I did have issues losing weight, even though my bump wasn't that big. But towards the end, I did start getting bigger. I did have issues losing weight afterwards, to the point I had to take all my suits out and stuff like that.
Oh, that is the worst thing, right? The suits. Yeah. So you're pregnant. You need to open all your suits. Then you've had the kid, and depending on I was quite lucky. I did go down quite quickly. I got that baby out, all the weight ran. Sorry about that. But yeah, you got to take your suits back in. I've got
Yeah.
suits upstairs that are still big. I mean, this is me, so I just put a kurti on, so it's fine. Because you know I don't fuss that much.
Actually, I saw someone. I've never seen anyone do this. So they put a safety pin at the back of their suit. I thought, like, because they didn't want to adjust it, and I thought, well, what's wrong with that?
She's going to get holes in her suit.
No, but it's like it was
It
too
was,
big.
obviously, it was obviously a cotton suit, which you don't care about, and not one of those whatever material other fancy
Silk
suits are.
or something like that. But yeah, she just put a safety pin. I thought that's strange.
Did
But
she
why
not have a shawl or something over it to cover the safety pin?
No, she was at the Godfrey, and it was hot, so she didn't have anything. And I was like, hey,
Oh my god, that's weird. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, that's.
who are you to judge?
Well,
Hey?
no, I just walk in the bag I just walk in with the bag on without the safety pin, and that's when you get the skinny comment. They're like, yes, I know. Yeah, that's funny. What? That is a bit of a strange one, though. No.
No, but I do feel sorry for my mother-in-law. The amount of times she's had to tighten my suits, loosen my suits. If I was her, I'd be like, look, just burn them up. I didn't know that.
Or you could turn around saying, buy me some new suits. Okay, so let's wrap it up there. I think it's been quite a nice conversation about body shaming and the fact that we should not be doing it. Do not comment on someone else's body because you do not know how they feel, whether it's fat, skinny, or anything in between. Just be nice to everyone. Say, you look beautiful, love. Or don't say love because that's really sexist. Say you look lovely because everyone wants to hear that, right?
Yeah.
On that point, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you